Once we've defeated the final boss and sat patiently reading every name in the credits, there's a familiar phrase we gamers love to see: New Game Plus. Not merely content to just replay our games, we expect fresh experiences the second time around. And it's kind of a special thing just for video games. There's not really a new book plus or a new movie plus. Anything new you get out of other kinds of art is because you've gotten older and more experienced and have a new point of view. But games can let you re-experience them without the need to grow and change as a person, which is precisely what many New Game Plus modes are all about, including the first one. There are lots of older games that let you replay them with additional features, but the earliest example that most closely mirrors the modern New Game Plus mode is Chrono Trigger. After completing the game, you could start over while retaining all of Chrono's levels, stats, and most of his items. This allowed you to see more of the game's alternate endings, which was also a fresh idea at the time. Some of the game's endings weren't even accessible unless you were more powerful early in the game, thanks to New Game Plus. Fast forward to today, and retaining your weapons and skills and starting anew after you beat a game is nearly a standard feature in AAA action games. It's a power fantasy and value proposition. We heard you like this game, so we put more of this game in your game. The Borderlands series uses this simple if dependable formula in its true Vault Hunter mode. Keep your guns and find new, even better ones while fighting harder enemies. Same with the Resident Evil franchise, though those games often take it even further. In Resident Evil 2, you could famously leave items behind for your next character to find in your second run. Other games, like Dishonored 2, use the feature in a less serious fashion. On your first run of this steampunk immersive sim, you have to choose between playing as Corvo or Emily, each of whom have a different skill set. But in New Game Plus, you don't have to pick. You suddenly have access to both characters' powers and the chaotic synergies they make possible. NG Plus gives developers a chance to forget all about balancing the game and instead ask players the important questions like, don't you just want to go apeshit? That's all well and good, but what's really special is when a New Game Plus is actually part of the narrative itself. Starfield sold the promise of exploring space, planets, moons, human colonies, and more. You could point your ship at a new solar system and find something you'd never seen before. Unfortunately, this promise ran into the reality that No Man's Sky had already done that, and with a much prettier color palette. What Starfield brought to the table was Bethesda's iconic, love it or hate it, storytelling.
I'm sure that even though you have virtually no experience with this, you'll do a great job.
There are factions to join, companions to romance, and strange situations to run into. But Starfield specifically injects something new into this classic, if somewhat stale, formula using New Game Plus, and it's not just some menu option that pops up when the credits roll. Spoiler warning. Once you've gathered all the magic space MacGuffin doodads, you are faced with a choice. You can stay a normal human, continue exploring space, enjoy your companion's company, and spend your hard-earned credits. Or start NG Plus as the Starborn in a brand new alternate universe with only your skills and good looks. The Starborn path means giving up the spaceship you spent a bunch of time customizing, along with all your gear, cash, and any bases you built. All your companion relationships will be reset. You really have to give up almost everything if you choose the multiverse option. But the opportunities are tantalizing. You are now entering New Game Plus. An infinite variety of universes lay at your fingertips. Will your astral adventurers stride the same path? Or might you join those space pirates this time around? Consider, if you will, Sarah Morgan. Her life's work to understand the mystery of the magic space MacGuffin doodads, their origins, their creators. And you can just walk up and tell her all the answers.
I see.
What else might you do with this inhuman power? All the universe is a stage and only you've got the script. Will your moral center stay resolute when you know the consequences of your actions don't carry over into the next universe? What about your colleagues at Constellation? They might die before you ever have the chance to meet them. Or all be children. That would be weird, wouldn't it? These strange alternate universes might only seem similar on the surface. Under a character's skin might be a totally different person, with a different personality and motives. They might be a traitor, or a plant, as in the leafy green kind. You may even be faced with the question of what to do with yourself. Will you recruit you? Or is there only room enough for one of you in this universe? The question Starfield's New Game Plus asks is unique. When are you willing to give up if you could do it all over again? Or maybe that's not the question at all. Perhaps what we should be asking is why Bethesda wanted to keep such an interesting feature secret at all. When the final boss is defeated and a game's credits hit, there's an it all gamers love to see. New Game Plus. Not merely content to just replay our games, we expect fresh or at least refreshed experiences when we start over. And you're not going to find this feature anywhere else. There's no new Sculpture Plus or new Album Plus. Anything new you get out of other kinds of art is because you've gotten more experienced and gotten older and have a new point of view. But with video games, you don't need to grow and change as a person, which is quite literally what New Game Plus is all about. Instead of giving up everything you've accomplished, you get to tap into the latent power fantasy at the heart of most games, and often change the tone of the game in the process. In the recent Dead Space remake, New Game Plus allows you to keep all your weapons, upgrades, and extra credits. Instead of a terrifying experience where you're scrounging for every bit of ammo you can find, you feel like Doom Guy, easily stomping every necromorph you come across. Other games use NG Plus to ratchet up the difficulty and reward players for their dedication. In the twitchy action series Nioh, you don't even scratch the surface of the game's RPG mechanics until you've entered New Game Plus. But that's not even enough. You can just keep challenging yourself against more and more difficult missions to earn better and better gear as you New Game Plus. It's an elegant way to ratchet up the difficulty for the player, and of course, it's a fantastic value proposition for the developer. Instead of spending time on late-game content many players will never get the chance to see, the developer can cater to both the casual and hardcore audiences almost simultaneously. But it is notable when a developer uses NG Plus as something more than just a higher difficulty tier and tries to say something with it. And my favorite example might just be Dragon's Dogma. This 2012 action-adventure RPG is so generically medieval fantasy that it almost feels unoriginal. And that's part of the idea. These fantasy tropes should feel painfully familiar to the point of being formulaic. As critic Matt Lees put it, Dragon's Dogma is
hobbity as fuck.
You're an adventurer who's immediately confronted by a dragon who marks you as the Arisen, aka the Chosen One. Also, the character creator lets you set your eyes closed for some reason. Anyway, people have quests for you to do, and there are skills to learn. You fight goblins and monsters as you explore dark caves and castle fortresses. And because it's an RPG, you get to make choices about who you help, how you level up, and what ridiculous magic powers you're going to use. Eventually, you confront the dragon, and mega spoiler warning, you defeat the dragon and the credits roll. Like fake credits. We're not doing New Game Plus just yet. The story continues, and it turns out the dragon was just a diversion to cover up something far grander. And that something is a big hole. Jump down the hole and fight enough guys, and eventually you'll get the chance to attack and dethrone God. Honestly, I'm not even kidding. Killing God turns out to be another trick, because now you've got his job and it's boring as fuck.
At long last, I am free of eternity.
You're invisible, so no one sees you, and you can't interact with anything. Free will is an illusion, and you've got this job for life. Eventually, you do the only thing you can, unarisen yourself, with the help of your god sword, thus breaking the cycle of normal guy to arisen, to dragon killer, to god killer, to the shitty new god of everything. This is seriously how they kept the universe spinning since the dawn of time. For real. Look, it's actually an incredible narrative, and you should check out this article that Cameron Kunzelman wrote for Waypoint, while it still exists, for a way smarter analysis. But what I'm fascinated by is that after the credits roll a second time, you get the option to start a New Game Plus. And a fantasy game that's all about breaking the never-ending cycles that the genre is full of, and that we often allow ourselves to be tempted by, well, I can't think of a more beautiful ending than making you confront that. Or can I? After we gamers have beaten a game's final boss and the credits roll, something pops up that we all love to see. New Game Plus. Not merely satisfied with just restarting our games, we expect a new or at least refurbished experience when we start a game over. And it's not like you'll find this elsewhere. There's no New Photograph Plus. And there's no new Painting Plus. Anything new you get out of other media and art is because you've gotten older and more experienced and have a new point of view. But games let you re-experience them without the need to grow and change as a person, which is precisely what many New Game Plus modes are all about. FromSoft's Dark Souls franchise and its ilk is filled with NG Plus modes that allow you to retain your character and stats while increasing the difficulty. There's not usually a narrative reason to do so, but replaying these games is an indelible part of the genre, which lets you slowly but surely gain mastery over the monsters and the world they inhabit. But in FromSoft's latest game, Armored Core 6: Fires of Rubicon, New Game Plus takes on a whole new dimension. On your first playthrough, you'll quickly notice that you sometimes gotta pick sides in the game's sci-fi resource war. Near the end of the game, you essentially pick a faction and face their final boss. So after the credits roll and the game immediately starts up New Game Plus, you not only keep all your sick robot parts, but you know there are a bunch of missions you didn't have the chance to take on because you picked the other side. But that's not all that changes in your second playthrough, so I gotta put in another spoiler warning here. On one seemingly normal mission, you'll suddenly get radio chatter from another faction mid-mission, with the choice to betray your current benefactor for higher pay. Other missions that start off the same go awry in new and interesting ways. After beating the other final boss, the game rolls right into NG++, where the script really starts to get flipped. The AI that handles your freelancing gigs between missions starts saying some weird shit.
The day will come when All Mind's evolution truly takes form.
And entirely new missions pop up in your queue. Other sorties that didn't change in your first two runs suddenly have surprise boss encounters and brand new characters. By subverting your expectations, the game manages to stay fresh and surprising, even on the third playthrough. But Armored Core 6 certainly wasn't the first time New Game Plus served a greater narrative purpose. In Nier and its remake, Nier Replicant, New Game Plus allows the player to experience the narrative through multiple perspectives. What's beautiful here is how that theme is echoed by the characters themselves, and the ways that they inhabit multiple, sometimes conflicting allegiances, identities, and even bodies. Austin Jones wrote a really incredible piece about this for Paste that I highly recommend you check out. But that game was laying the groundwork for Nier Automata, where New Game Plus is downright indispensable to the game's emotional arc. You probably know someone who's explained that you gotta play this game 5 times to truly understand it, and they're not wrong. I'm going to get into the game's endings here, so I'll at least try to be vague, but spoiler warning. Each playthrough in Nier Automata is vital in how it sets up the next. For example, the first restart isn't that different from most of the other games I've talked about. You keep your stats, you get a new character, and a cool new hacking mechanic. You follow essentially the same narrative path since your new character was actually just a sidekick the first go-around. But the combat is fun and the music is enchanting, so you don't think too much about it until the third playthrough, when everything is completely different. A new character with new abilities and a new section of the game. And it only escalates from there as it uses the framework of New Game Plus to ask deep, existential questions about our purpose in life, our ability to change, and how critical it is that we open up to each other. It explores characters who feel trapped in their lives, unable to deviate from what their programming allows them and society expects of them. But as the player, you get the chance to break your programming in this 5th and final playthrough by giving up New Game Plus itself. The very ability to start over with all your stuff. You have to delete everything. However many hours you spent in this game, and it will be a lot at this point, is wiped away for good. It's a moment of catharsis few games hope to achieve because it's a sacrifice you take on to help someone else on their own emotional journey through this game. In Nier Automata, when you defeat the final boss, and the credits start to roll for the 5th time, the most powerful thing you can do when you see New Game Plus is say no.